This story, titled The King and the Handmaiden, or sometimes The Prince and the Handmaid, is the first story in Book 1 of Jalaluddin Rumi's Mathnavi. It is considered an allegory that explores the transformation of human longing into divine union. The story begins with a king who possessed both material and spiritual power. One day, while riding out on a hunting excursion, the king's gaze fell upon a young handmaiden. Her beauty enthralled his soul, which fluttered in his chest like a bird. He brought her back to his palace and won her to his desire. Soon after, through what is described as divine destiny, the handmaiden became gravely ill. The king brought together all his doctors, promising them great wealth if they could heal her, saying his life was nothing without her. However, their therapies brought nothing but deeper illness, and the young woman became as thin as a hair. Divine intervention. When the king realized the doctors were powerless, he cried tears of blood and turned to prayerful meditation. He entered his private room barefoot and fell upon his knees, soaking his prayer carpet with tears. His prayer was answered. He entered a deep place of rest and dreamed that an old man appeared to him, delivering good tidings, a skilled physician, a stranger friend whose magic is absolute, would arrive the next day. The next day, the physician arrived, slender and radiant, appearing like the new moon. The king greeted him, instantly feeling their souls were knit together, and recognized him as the universal gift sent due to his pain, the discovery of the true malady. The king conducted the physician to the private chamber where the handmaiden lay. The physician examined her, observing her pulse, face color, and urine. He quickly realized that the former remedies had failed because the doctors were ignorant of the inward state of the woman. He perceived that she was heartsick, an ailment that is, in a class all by itself. Keeping this secret from the king, the physician asked the king to empty the house so he could be alone with the sick woman. Gently, he questioned her about her hometown, former masters, and kinsfolk, carefully observing her pulse. When she mentioned the sweet town of Samarkand, her pulse jumped and her face went red and pale by turns. He then learned that she had been separated from a certain goldsmith who lived there. The physician assured the handmaiden he knew her illness and would deliver her from it, but strictly commanded her not to tell anyone, even the king, about their secret, the cure and the fate of the goldsmith. The physician then informed the king that the best plan was to summon the goldsmith to the court, telling him that fortune awaited him as a royal goldsmith. The king sent messengers to Samarkand, who found the goldsmith engaged in trivial details, a fop. Lured by promises of wealth and eminence, the goldsmith rode blithely to the court, unaware that the king had formed a design against his life. The king honored the goldsmith. In confidence, the physician advised the king to give the young woman to the goldsmith so that the water of union with him may put out the fire of impassioned longing. The king did so, and they lived together happily for 6 months until the handmaiden was completely restored to health. Next, the physician prepared a poisonous potion. As the goldsmith gradually drank it, his beauty and youth wore away. His cheeks drained, and his breath turned sour. The handmaiden's passion for him grew cold, and she turned away. The goldsmith eventually cried out about being killed for his beauty and died. With the goldsmith's passing, the handmaiden was purged of pain and earthly love and was reunited with the king. The source material notes that the physician's poisoning of the goldsmith was prompted by the divine spirit, not by self-interest, similar to God's command to Abraham to sacrifice his son. Allegorical interpretation. Rumi's tales are allegories meant to impart Sufi teachings, suggesting a meaning far deeper than the literal narrative. The ultimate aim of the story is to show how human longing Ishq-i majazi, is transformed into divine love, ishq-i hakiki. The king symbolizes heavenly love, or God. The king's initial infatuation with the handmaiden is seen as a mirror, reflecting the soul's deeper, fundamental longing for the divine. The handmaiden represents the salik, or the spiritual seeker, follower of the spiritual path. Her illness is a metaphor for the soul's separation from its divine source. The goldsmith represents the attachment to earthly desires, material things, or physical beauty. The handmaiden's love for him was based on physical attraction, which faded when his attractiveness waned. The pursuit of the goldsmith is considered a worldly craving that results in spiritual illness. The physician symbolizes the spiritual guide, pir, or divine grace, which intervenes to diagnose the true illness and lead the soul back to God. The king's sacrifice and the goldsmith's death are crucial for the spiritual journey. The king granting the handmaiden's wish to marry the goldsmith is an allegory for God fulfilling the salik's worldly aspirations so that the seeker may realize the pointlessness of material attractions. The eventual demise of the goldsmith by divine command, and the handmaiden's subsequent transfer of affection to the king signifies the necessary destruction or annihilation of the self and the release of attachment to the physical world. The handmaiden's healing and reunion with the king symbolize the soul's eventual union with the divine truth. The story culminates in the seeker being purged of pain and earthly love and eventually reunited with the king. This final union proves that the lover's ailment is in a class all by itself, as love is the astrolabe of God's mysteries. Through this intense process, the soul learns to perceive that what the common person views as suffering is transformed by divine love. Ultimately, Rumi teaches that this journey makes bitter things seem sweet and turns hardship into joy. It is a necessary alchemy of the spirit. Through love, bits of copper are made gold. Through love, sickness is health. Through love, wrath is as mercy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. See you in the next video.